Mike Radich here, and I'm now joined on the phone by Invicta FC Bantamweight, Leslie Smith. Leslie, how are you?
I'm doing really good. Really good.
Leslie,
how about you?
No, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Leslie, you got a fight coming up April 5th at Invicta FC 5. How's training been going for the fight?
Training's been going great. This is probably the best training that I've ever done. I feel smarter and stronger, and like I'm making the best use of my time ever, which is huge. Mm-hmm. In the past I've always, made up for what I didn't know by training really hard. Mm-hmm. And I'm still training hard, but now I actually know that I'm training smart. So it makes me more proud at nighttime, knowing I'm doing the smart thing.
Where exactly have you been preparing for this fight? Because I know in the area that you're at, you have a lot of gyms at your disposal, so where have you been at?
My main place is the Cesar Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Academy, where I work with Alessandro Ferreira. Mm-hmm. And then the second place, probably, is going to be my strength and conditioning gym. I mean, I'm there every day. It's called Functional Muscle Fitness in Concord. And my coach there is Mark Wine. And then the third place, by no means the last place, but the third main place is it's El Nino Training Center. That's Gilbert Melendez's gym out in the city.
And now, Alexis Davis, she's out that way. Has she done any training with you? Because she fought your opponent once before. Has she helped you at all in this training camp?
She did. Our schedules, when we can make it work, we do. Mm-hmm. We do, and it's certainly a huge benefit to get to be able to work with somebody who's already fought someone that I'm about to fight. Not to mention someone who already fought her in such a fantastic way. Mm-hmm. Fight of the year is what they had last year. So, Alexis really brought out the best in Sarah, and so I'm hoping that I get to do the same thing too. Mm-hmm. So it's been really nice to be able to get to talk to her about it. Mm-hmm. Work with her.
And you mentioned fight of the year. So you think that fight was better than your fight with Caitlin Young?
I guess, there were a couple different votes, and I just remember getting told that she got beat out. I know that mine got it for one, and then she got it for another. Well, sorry. I shouldn't say she because it's all females we're talking about, right? I can explain a little better. I know that my fight with Caitlin Young was nominated and that we won for one of the awards. And then I know that Alexis's fight with Kaufman was nominated too, and that they won once. So I think that we both got a runner-up and a win, depending on who the award giver you're looking at. But as long as I get to be on here talking, I'll definitely give them the head nod for that fight before trying to claim it myself, because that was an awesome fight. They did really, really well.
Yeah, it definitely was. Now, Leslie, I was watching your documentary, and one thing I picked up on that was that you train with a lot of men. Is that the case? Do you train with a lot of men? Is that something that you prefer? Or now with like girls like Alexis and all them coming around the gyms now, has that changed?
First, I want to say thank you so much for watching it. That is so cool of you.
I enjoyed it. I loved it. It was great. I enjoyed it. It was great. It was a great look into your life, and it's just an amazing story you have. You've been all over the world. I enjoyed it a lot. So it was a treat for me. So.
Well, that's really cool. Thank you.
Sure.
And then your question was about the training more with men or with women, and which one's better, right?
It was. Do you prefer to train with men? Because I noticed that's a lot that you have to work with. Is that just a preference, or what's available to you?
For a long time it was just about what was available to me. But at this point, when I'm doing specific training for a fight, it's nice to get to work with a woman's body because they can do different things. They're flexible in different areas. They're smaller. Like take a shoulder lock, for example. Most men are going to top out way sooner than women in a shoulder lock just because of the flexibility that they have there. Same thing with doing stand-up, with doing kicking. There's a lot of men that have really good head kicks, but there's more women that have great head kicks because they've got the flexibility in the hips. So it's invaluable to get to work with another woman. But at the same time, I do, at this point, prefer working with men a little bit more. Not to say that I mean, there's not any individual man that I would say I prefer working with over Alexis Davis. You know, I'd rather work with her any day.
Right.
Any day. So we're just generalizing here. But for the most part, you always want to work with someone who's a lot better than you. Not just better than you, for me at least. I always want to work with someone who's a lot better than me. Someone who's stronger, someone who's faster, someone who has more experience, and usually I found more men that fit that bill. Which isn't to say there's not a lot of women, you know. I get to work with Alexis Davis, I get to work with Sarah DeLalio, and they push me a lot, you know. They've got awesome strength. So when I get the chance to work with them, I'm all about it. But in general, I didn't join MMA to work with women.
Right. Now you're going to be fighting Sarah Kaufman. What are your thoughts about her as an opponent?
I'm really excited to get to fight her. It's a great chance for me. It's the opportunity. It's huge. She has shown that she can win a lot of fights. You know, she has a great record. She's her last fight was a title fight. She was the Strikeforce title holder for a while. But I don't think that she's ever gone up against anybody who's got my combination of skills. So I'm very lucky to have gotten this fight and this opportunity. I think that my stand-up is it's hard for me to say this because I try to be humble and honest. I think that I'm better in pretty much most of the departments, pretty much all the departments. I know that she has a lot of strength and that she really likes to push people up against the cage. And that I don't really like fighting there. I don't like to push opponents against the cage or to stay there myself because it's just not as exciting for me as the fighter, and I don't feel like it's as exciting for the fans. But there's a value to it as far as winning a fight goes and scoring the points and showing that you have the control. But I think that when we're in there, I don't think that you're going to see a lot of up against the cage. I think that you're going to see a lot more of us staying in the middle and moving around and standing up and throwing. And I'm really excited to do that with her. I mean, I'm so excited to be able to go against an opponent who I think is going to bring out the best in me and my stand-up abilities, all my MMA abilities, but especially my stand-up. I mean, it was great to get to work with Caitlin in the ring because she has spectacular striking, and she definitely brought out the best in my striking. So to have this chance to go with Kaufman, who is also an exceptional striker, it's only going to make me better. It's great.
And now this fight, you wanted this for a while, and now it's happening. Why exactly did you want this fight? Was it just because, Sarah Kaufman, former champion, a good opponent, or was it just you liked the styles matchup? What exactly made you want this fight so badly?
It's kind of all of it. We both, like we talked about before, I had a fight that was nominated for Fight of the Year, and she had a fight that was nominated for Fight of the Year. So you get two of those together, and hopefully it'll be Fight of the Century. And it's just nice to get an opponent that's going to stand in there and bang, that's going to keep coming at you and bring out the best in you. And that's what I anticipate her doing. You only want to fight the best. I should say I only want to fight the best and who I think is going to bring out the best in me and test me. And so since I feel like striking is my strongest point, I want to fight someone who's an exceptional striker so that she can bring out that in me. The fact that she's a former champion and that she is ranked number 2, depending on whose list you looked at, that's huge too. That's gigantic. And so not only am I excited about her bringing out the best in me, but I'm also excited about the jump in the rankings that I'm going to get after winning this fight. It's a little leapfrog over quite a few people.
Definitely. And now, for this camp, has it been harder or easier preparing for this? Because last time out, Raquel Pennington, someone in the past that you had trained with. Also, the fight before that, Caitlin Young, that was a rematch of the fight that you had before. So was that pretty close in between, with the rematch being immediate for you. She had a fight in between, but immediate for you. Has it been harder in a way that Sarah Kaufman, you're familiar with her, but you don't have the kind of I guess you could say, relationship that you do with the other two. You don't have that what's the word I'm looking for? Familiarity with that past with those two. Or has it been easier because now you don't have to go in there thinking, oh well, I gotta kind of be one step ahead, kind of outsmart her a little bit because she knows everything I'm gonna do. Has it been harder or easier preparing for this fight than your last two?
This fight for me is a win-win. Everything about this fight is a win-win. And so going into it and getting ready for it, I've been really able to focus on myself because, like you said, I can't close my eyes and remember how it is that she hits or how she lifts up her elbow before she comes in. I'm learning those things from watching film, but I don't have the personal experience with her, and so that allows me to focus on myself more, which is the most important thing for me right now. And yeah, there's a bit of freedom in it. Preparing to fight Pennington was lousy. It was really lousy. It was like the worst training camp for me ever. And then as I got closer and closer to the fight, it was a really personal issue for me. Because we had trained together, and so not only was it about me fighting her, but it was also for me to find out if I had made the right decision 4 years ago when I moved out to California and to train with the Cesar Gracie Academy, and it was a lot more personal than it might have looked. So to not have the burden of that is huge. And I'm going into this with so much enthusiasm and just so grateful for the opportunity, which I didn't have in the last two fights. I kind of had a chip on my shoulder after Caitlin, and I definitely had a chip on my shoulder fighting Pennington. So it's nice my shoulders are free. There's nothing hanging on me, and I just get to go in it and have fun. So, yeah, it's a big difference.
Just curious, do you watch a lot of film of the fighters that you're going to face? And if so, how much have you watched of Sarah Kaufman?
Sarah Kaufman has tons of fights out there to watch.
Right.
I get to choose who I want to watch with her. I can see her fighting Alexis. I can see her fighting Liz Carmouche. I can watch her fighting Roxanne Modafferi. And all those people have different styles. So it's wonderful to be able to get to watch all those different styles and to be able to pick up how she reacts. But at the end of the night, when I go to bed, I'm not thinking about Sarah. I'm not thinking about Kaufman's moves. I'm not thinking about how she looked in some film. I'm thinking about me and how I want me to look. Because when it all comes down to it, I'm the only person I can control. And so I do watch films to have an idea and the familiarity with it, but it's not like I base my training on the day on something that I noticed in the film the night before. Maybe I'll as I evolve as a fighter and I get to maybe a plateau in my own abilities, I'll start focusing on the other fighter more. But at this point, man, the sky's the limit for me as far as my development, and so I focus on me a lot more than anybody else.
Obviously, you'll be able to say better after the fight takes place, but as of right now, do you feel that Sarah Kaufman is the best opponent that you will face, and if so, by how much?
Well, compared to the other opponents that I faced, she's got a great record. She's definitely got a pedigree in women's MMA. Compared to the opponents that I want to face, I hope that she's just a step in the ladder to the top of women's MMA for me. I don't think that I don't think there's any other women that have the striking that she has right now. So if we're just talking about striking, then yeah, I think that she's definitely up there. She might even be, the highest level striker that I've fought. But MMA isn't just about striking; it's about everything. And so I guess I can't completely answer that question until I've gone through them all. Maybe at the end of my career, in about 10 years, we can have another talk.
Right. And now her last fight against Ronda Rousey, not her best performance. no one really expected that we were going to see that. Everyone thought that she was going to be Ronda's toughest test, being over in 54 seconds, not the result that a lot of people had thought going into that fight. Have you looked at that fight at all, or do you just look at that one like, well, Ronda Rousey's just good at what she does, and she just caught Sarah in that, and there's really nothing else you can really diagnose from her last fight? Have you even looked at that one at all?
Oh yeah, I totally looked at that one. Mm-hmm. I looked at exactly how she did, how she came in, because especially in that fight, that's one that I want to study both of them. Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to fighting both of them. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot to look at in that fight. And it has occurred to me a couple times, to maybe plan that as part of my strategy, maybe Ronda Rousey her and just come straight in, push her against the cage, headlock her, take her down, and finish her off right there. Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, that's an option too. They're all options. And that's the beautiful thing about MMA, is that we get to do it all. Now, that's not really the fight that I'm notorious for. Maybe notorious isn't the right word, but that isn't the fighting style that I've presented in the past. Mm-hmm. But there's no reason to rule anything out, and obviously it worked against her. And that's one of the reasons that you watch film, or that I watch film, is so that you can see, so I can see what worked against people in the past. And there's not really any arguing against a method that stops somebody in the first round, in the first minute of the first round. And, so I'm taking that into consideration in my game planning for this fight, too. Mm-hmm,
mm-hmm. And now, going into this one, do you think that we'll see, the best version ever of Sarah Kaufman because the last fight didn't go her way and it left a bad taste in her mouth? Or do you think that possibly we're going to see maybe a conservative Sarah Kaufman trying to just get a win, to get right back on track? What are you anticipating her bringing to the table?
I'm the person that I'm picturing in my mind fighting isn't even Sarah Kaufman. Mm. The person I'm picturing in my mind fighting is the fastest, smartest, most aggressive, and still totally defensive person inside of, possible. That's the opponent that I'm preparing myself for. Mm. I'm preparing myself for someone who's not going to make any mistakes and someone who's going to be 100% ready. I'm not sure what she's going to be, but no matter how good she is, I'm going to be ready for it. Like I said before, I hope she is that good. I hope that she brings us the best that she has ever been, because that's only going to bring out the best in me. Mm-hmm. The psychology of it, I'm not sure, because I don't really know her, but man, I did notice that she got really, really cocky getting ready for the Kaufman, or for fighting Ronda Rousey. Mm-hmm. And I would think that it would take you down a couple notches, getting building yourself up so high and then falling so far. Maybe not far, maybe just quickly is the right way to phrase it. Mm-hmm. But I would think it would take you down a couple notches, but I don't really know, because that's not my thing. I mean, I talked a little bit of smack last time before I was fighting Raquel Pennington, but that was more my insecurity about, did I make the right decision in this move than it was about how I really felt about her or our statuses, compared to each other. Mm-hmm. So I don't really know exactly what it's like to talk a bunch of smack and then get it all thrown right back in your face. Mm-hmm. I would imagine it's pretty humbling, though. Mm-hmm.
Now, you're a fighter who's always in fight of the night type fights. You're very exciting. You always come to bring the fight. You have this style where you're just constantly attacking. How important is it for you when you're in the fights to put on a good show for the fans?
When I first started fighting, my very first fight, I was like, I just want to make sure I like it. I didn't really, it was a month after I started training, literally 1 month. So I was like, I know that I don't really have very much skill, but I have one thing that I can bring to this fight, which is that I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to give up. And so when I watch fights, when I watch fighters, all levels, amateur, pro debuters, professional fighters, men, women, local shows, UFC shows, the thing that sells any fighter to me and makes me want to watch them and cheer for them and care about them is see them putting out 100% of effort. And I know that I will do that no matter what, every single time. And so that's really my goal when I'm doing it. I know that that's what makes it the most exciting. It's not necessarily to make it exciting that I do it. It's because I feel like that's the way a fight ought to be done. If someone's going to walk into a fight, they need to be ready to be fighting 100% the entire time. There should be no gives. There should be no quit. And if there is any kind of quit, then they shouldn't be walking back into the cage, because that's not the reason to do it. At least that's my idea in it. So while I'll admit that there's sometimes when I'm fighting, and I know I'm supposed to be patient, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, this is getting boring. I got to do something. I'm trying to, do the counter thing, and I'll be like, oh, this is totally boring.
Right.
There's a little bit of it that's about the crowd, but more of it is about me, because I'm in there to have fun. There's that huge reward as a result of taking the big risk, but I want to enjoy the ride while I'm there, too.
So what's more important to you? Is it to get a win, or is it to put on a good show?
The win. I mean, that's the right answer, right?
Right.
The win.
Right.
The win is the most important thing. But the good show, I mean, I guess what, I want them both. I guess I can't really choose, because I want them both.
Right.
If I knew that I could win a fight by walking in and just shoving my shoulder into somebody and using my head to keep them shoved up against the cage for 3 rounds, if someone was like, that's all you have to do and you'll win the fight, I wouldn't do it. Right. I mean, maybe I shouldn't admit that. but no, that's not how I win fights. That's not what I'm there to do. I'm not there to get the points. I'm there to win the fight by winning, by beating the person, by engaging. That's my thing, I guess.
Now, your style, you like to strike. You always like to be on the attack. You're very aggressive in there. But to go along with your great striking, you are, a Cesar Gracie fighter. So you have the ground as well. To someone who has never seen you fight, what would you describe your style as?
Exciting. Exciting.
Right.
Exciting and aggressive is probably, those are the 2 words. I know that people want to hear, I'm a Muay Thai fighter, or I'm a boxer, or I'm a jiu-jitsu person, but it's MMA, it's mixed martial arts. So while it's nice to have one discipline that you can say that you excel in, it's never smart to let anything else fade into the background. For me, I mean, I train everything equally as hard. I work on my wrestling, I work on my jiu-jitsu, so I guess I can't really use the accurate descriptive words that would make the most sense, other than just exciting. I mean, I like to push. I guess you could say a striker.
And now, your last fight was against Raquel Pennington. There was a little bit of a beef there, but I think it was more on her end than on your end, because I remember you saying after that fight that you would have traded that win for still having her as a friend. Where is that all left off at? Is there still a beef there, or is it squashed?
No, there's no beef. It's squashed. We talked afterwards. I had thought that she had signed the contract without talking to me about it, and she thought I had signed the contract without talking to her about it. I had the very first Invicta. She came out with her family, and I gave them the tickets to come into the show, and I introduced them to Sam Wilson, who was helping out with the show. So when they said that she'd already signed to take the fight against me, I was like, really? It was I was insulted, really. I mean, I realized that it's a weight class, and that eventually, we're not at the same gym, and so maybe we would have to fight each other again. But for that to be, such a flippant decision on her part, I thought I was totally insulted, and I kind of tried to use that as my tool to prevent me from being, like I said, insecure about you know, did I make the right decision? Have I made the right amount of growth moving to this other gym instead of staying there? And, I mean, I totally did. I definitely did make the right decision. No matter what, no matter how that fight would have turned out. It was the right decision because of the way everything's gone. But, yeah, I was a little salty at the time, and, you know, I said some things in some interviews, and she said some things back. But I think that part of that is also you kind of got to let yourself get sucked into that. Because my aggression when I fight somebody, it's not always directed at the person that I'm fighting. You know, there's a lot of things that I'm fighting. I'm fighting, you know, in my head there's all these passive-aggressive behaviors that we see around us all the time. And, you know, there's bad drivers. There's the fact that we all wear cotton, right? And there's people in India who are literally killing themselves because they're trying to grow cotton fresh. And they're not getting paid enough to support their families. Like, there's all these things that are so negative in the world, and so that's one of the places that I draw most of my aggression and my desire to fight from. It's not usually at the person. So when I lived with Raquel, it was different because it actually was at her. But in the end, no. There's no saltiness. I hope she does really good, actually. I was kind of bummed to not see her on the fight when Caitlin Young's opponent, Amanda Nunes, got hurt.
Right.
I was hoping they were going to bring in Pennington.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
Yeah. Well, it had to be strange for you to you know, be in that fight, and you know, her family, they're usually cheering for you, and now, since you were fighting her, they're cheering against you. Was that something that was weird for you?
Yeah, it was. It totally was. At the end of the day, though, I can remember that nothing is personal. Absolutely nothing is personal. I can remember that even when they were cheering for me, you know, that wasn't personal. And on the same token, when they were not cheering for me, that wasn't personal either. You know, people do what they want, you know, because it's more fun or it serves whatever purpose, but it always serves a purpose for them. Not necessarily for me. So you know what's funny is that I was actually happy that she had that many people there to support her. They were all over there with their neon shirts, and I was like, oh, that's cool that she got so many people out here cheering her on. That's neat. And then I was like, wait a minute, no, I'm not supposed to think that.
Now, in the past, you expressed an interest about going down to 125 pounds. Is that something that you're still interested in doing?
Yes. Yes, I'd like to see how I fight at 125. Right now, 35 is definitely the place to be. As far as the exciting fights, as far as getting the coverage, as far as getting to fight the really tried and tested warriors, just because there's so much opportunity at 35, like Frankie Edgar. You know, he did everything in his weight class. He always had the option to go down, but he didn't. He liked the weight class that he stayed at. And it wasn't until, you know, his last fight against Benson, you know, the title fight, that he was like, okay, all right, I'll go down. So I think he's got the right idea. I think I match up really well with the women at 35. 25 is definitely an option, but I don't need to look for the easier fight yet because I think that I can win them at 35. Although there are, you know, some awesome fighters at 25, like Bar Ponchak and Vanessa Porto. They're about to fight. Both of those women bring a lot to the cage.
Also, a lot of people were wondering why you weren't one of the 10 fighters the UFC signed, because, you know, you're on a nice streak right now. What exactly happened there? You know, people started to ask the question because, like I said, you're on a good streak, and you know, what happened there? Did they never contact you? Was it just something where you're just happy with Invicta? You know, what's the reason behind not being with the UFC?
Well, knowing that the UFC was on the verge of starting to have women, the whole time that I've been with Invicta, I have not actually gotten into a contract with them. So I am a free agent. I've avoided getting into the contract with them because I know the UFC doesn't like to work with people who have contracts with people in other organizations. So I've maintained my free status, if you will, my steamroll status, just so that I'd be able to be in the UFC. But I got this fight signed up. It's on the board before any of that came up. So I'm really just focusing on this fight. After this fight, then we'll see what happens next. Mm-hmm. I recognize in a lot of departments in women's MMA that there's still a lot of popularity contests going on. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that like Kat Zingano got a boob job, fought at 125, and has only had one fight at 135 in the past, 3 years. Mm-hmm. And it was against Pennington, and they put her, ranked number 6. Really? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I just saw a list today. There's all kinds of different lists, but I just saw a list today that says that I'm at, number 15 behind other people who are undefeated, but they fought nobodies. Mm-hmm. And my losses were against Eddie Gomes, who's ranked number 2 at 145 in the world, and the other one was against Carrie Vera. She had really good stand-up. That was quite a few years ago. Right. But there's a lot of popularity contests. Maybe I shouldn't phrase it like that. I should call it marketability. Mm-hmm. But that's really the exact same thing. I don't think there's any difference between the two. Mm-hmm. So I guess right now what I need to do is work on my market. I don't need to work on anything. I just need to win this fight. Right. And I'll get everything I want, I'm pretty sure. Mm-hmm.
And now the Ultimate Fighter, I'm sure you're aware of, it's going to have men and women in the same house. Would you be interested in doing the Ultimate Fighter? And part B to that question, what do you think of the concept?
I think it's a great concept. Mm-hmm. I think that's the very best thing possible is to have the men and the women inside the house. Mm-hmm. When people talked about doing, a female Ultimate Fighter, that was always the thing that I said was that it needs to be men and women inside the house. Mm-hmm. That's the most important thing. That's the whole point, is the integration of men and women. Mm-hmm. I mean, Invicta does its thing wonderfully, right? It's all women, but eventually integration is the goal. Everybody wants to work together. Or maybe that's not the right way to phrase it, but I think that everybody eventually will end up working the best together. And so, I think it's awesome that they're going to have the men and women together. As far as me going on the show, if Kaufman's ranked second, depending on his list, not Misha-Tate's list, because Misha put herself at second on the list that she made. Right. Which made me think, man, I ought to make myself a list. Yeah, get on it right now. What are you doing? Hang up. Get on that list. I'm going to leapfrog over a lot of people beating Kaufman. And so, it would be kind of a funny thing to go on there and be coached by women who I'm probably going to fight soon. Right. So, you know what I mean? Like for the Ultimate Fighters, for example, Gilbert Melendez. He wasn't in the UFC. He was in Strikeforce. Strikeforce disbanded, but he didn't go say, let me jump in the Ultimate Fighter house. Sure. You know what I mean? Right. That would have been the biggest joke in town. He's getting the title shot that he deserved on April 20th. So, I'm no Gilbert Melendez, and I'm not walking into a title shot. But I'm also not some no-name who's never fought before and doesn't have any kind of reputation and needs the show to create that reputation for me. I've got a legitimate claim to being able to fight either one of those women coming off of beating Sarah Kaufman. Mm-hmm. At the same time, though, I'm not above it. That's a career move that I'm talking about it, a career perspective. Why would I go get coached by those women? But from the martial arts perspective, I just want to be as good as I can possibly be and train with as many people as I possibly can and get the most out of this experience. Dude, the house is where it's at. Mm-hmm. Just for the training of it, just for the personal growth that you get to go through, just for the development and getting to work with all the different coaches and be exposed to as many styles as possible. Mm-hmm. in my search to become the best mixed martial artist that I can, I think that the house is totally the answer. Mm-hmm. But in the making the best decisions for my career, I think that the house is ruled out. So we have yet to see. I guess I've got a couple of weeks before I make that final decision. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. From this interview, I've learned one thing, and that's never to look at a list again, because all these lists that I see out there, it has people that they would like to see on the show, and your name is the top of the list. So I just got to stop looking at these lists.
Lists are good. I look at them too. And I'm like, why is that person there?
Right.
Why is that one there? And look, they didn't even mention that person's other fight. And then I have to throw my phone in the corner and remind myself that it's not about the list.
Right.
It's about the wins.
Right.
They're fun to look at, though.
Yeah.
Little popularity contest kind of takes you back to high school. Which one's got the most fans?
Yeah.
Who's got the most friends? It's like Valentine's Day when you're in 8th grade.
Yeah.
Who's going to get the most Valentine grams delivered to their desk?
Yeah, it's just addicting. I just can't stay away from it for some reason. But anyways, you brought it up several times. Sarah Kaufman, ranked number 2. If you beat her, I'm sure there's got to be a title shot looming at 135. Is that what you're calling for if you get this win?
Oh yeah, that's the goal. Mm-hmm. It's definitely the goal. I'm not doing MMA to get halfway up the mountain and hang out there.
Mm-hmm. And now, Leslie, I'm just curious, how did you get your nickname, the Peacemaker?
Well, I'm kind of a hippie. I really like peace. Mm-hmm. Peace, love, and Gracie fighters. Mm-hmm. You know how people always have some things? I like all the multiple meanings inside of it. I don't know if you ever knew anybody who had like a bat or, an old school pistol or even their right hand.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So I like that there's connotations that everybody can identify something with it. Mm-hmm. So either, you think of it as your gun or the peacemaker, you got your bat or like I said, some people, they're like, let me bust out the peacemaker and they hold up their right fist in the air. Mm-hmm. So I feel like it's something that is homey enough that everybody's got something that they can connect to it. But it also has a lot of meanings for me, like just the word peace. You said that you got to watch some of the documentary. Mm-hmm. One of my goals is to be a peace activist from the cage. Mm-hmm. I'm working on figuring out the right messages, and I want to get to that high platform so that I can get a bunch of people to listen to me. Mm-hmm. But peace, it is a big deal, and on all the levels. I'm talking about there's Americans. 1 in 3 American children right now, I just read a report, are obese. Mm-hmm. Which is, I used to definitely, I haven't always been very fit. And so I feel like for me, eating too much, excessively eating, feels like a destructive thing to myself. And I think that if a lot of people were happier and more at peace with themselves, more at peace with their surroundings, that they'd be healthier. So I think that there's, searching for peace within yourself, but then there's a lot of things that piss us off every day in daily life. And without an outlet, without a way to express that anger or that frustration, whether it be, punching a bag or doing a kickboxing class or learning martial arts, doing jiu-jitsu and getting humbled every day and realizing that, you don't have any right to get angry at anybody else. All those things for me are associated with fighting and with peace. So it seems funny that I feel so strongly about, promoting nonviolence to oneself, and especially about nonviolence in our daily actions. As huge consumers that we are here in the U.S., I mentioned how cotton farmers are killing themselves because they can't support themselves and their family with these shirts that, I've seen people pay $50 for a t-shirt, right? And down the line, there's just silly things, little tiny things that I think that that we brush under the table, electricity, things like that are hurting other people in the world. that the more conscious of all that we can be, the better off that everyone's going to be. And the better off that everyone is, the better off that I am as an individual I'm going to be. So those are all things that I bring into the name Peacemaker for me. And that doesn't occur to everybody, but it's good for me to carry it inside my head. So it's got something for me to identify with and something for everybody else to identify with.
Definitely. And now, Leslie, last question. You have a Muay Thai background. You lived in Thailand for some time. Lion Fight Muay Thai in Las Vegas, they're putting on shows right now. You mentioned that you are a free agent, so is there any possibility that we could see you take a Muay Thai fight? Would you be interested in that at all, or are you just going to stick with MMA?
Oh, yeah, there's a possibility. There's totally a possibility. I guess that right now I wouldn't want to endanger my MMA career by potentially getting hurt in a Muay Thai career, but if for some reason I've never taken a little break from the MMA, or maybe I don't have a fight set up, then yeah, that's definitely, I want to do as much competing as I can, because I feel like that's the way that you develop as a martial artist, is by competing and in as many different disciplines as I can. And I love Muay Thai. There's this beautiful deadliness to it that I love. So maybe, but I might have to Google that when we get off of this conversation. Right.
Leslie, real quick before I let you go, do you have any sponsors you would like to thank, and is there anything you'd like to say to the fans?
Oh, yeah, totally. I want to thank Hello High Oakland. You guys are awesome, super supportive. I want to thank Loyal People for Loyalty. You guys have been there from day one. I super appreciate that. Everyone at the Gracie Fighter Academy, Alessandro Pineda, Mark Wine, Gilbert Melendez is so encouraging and supportive. Everybody over there at El Nino Training Center, Nathan Diaz, good luck to Nathan and Gilbert on their fights for 20. And to the fans, man, I just want to say thank everybody. I really, really appreciate everybody that is taking such a deep interest in women's MMA, in individual fighters, and we get a lot of legitimacy from the people who are caring, and from the people who are like, dude, check out this fight. So thank you guys for watching, and please keep sharing your fights. Keep sharing the fights with everybody else. I appreciate it.
Leslie, thank you for taking the time to talk. I really appreciate it. Good luck April 5th at Invicta FC 5 against Sarah Kaufman.
Thank you so much. It was really nice to get to talk to you. I appreciate you having me on here.